Want to let him in? Oh, 24, 25. Look at that. 6. Well, we had over 80 people sign up. So if we get anywhere near half, it'll be good. That's pretty much how it works. 34. Yeah, we might hit 40.
Nice.
Bob is not moving? Oh, he's moving. Okay, you gonna let him in? Oh, they're in. We started.
Yes.
That's
That's
right.
right. It's different.
We're live.
Yes.
Oh, we're live. I'm so sorry, everybody. Hi.
Yay.
So this is Dr. Ted Barnett. I'm sorry I'm acting a little strange here. I had a long day at work and now I'm doing an information session for Jumpstart. And I'm just sitting here being a little dense, but it's so great to have everybody here. So we have these beautiful rectangles on the screen. I was waiting for the other rectangles to show up just like they do when we do a real Jumpstart. So this is just a kind of an information session. I'm so excited. We have so many people in the audience. And first, I'm just going to go around the room and let people introduce themselves, starting with Bob Franke, who is our Master of Ceremonies and head facilitator and the program director for Jumpstart at Rochester Lifestyle Medicine Institute. Say a couple of words.
Well, welcome everybody. I'm so glad that you were able to make it. We want to try to answer any questions that you might have. We're going to just be going through the schedule, and I just want to say a special thank you to our alumni participants that will be introducing themselves momentarily. But these are folks that we're in a similar situation as probably many of you, wondering whether or not to try Jumpstart, and they're going to tell their stories, including a doctor.
Excellent, excellent. So thank you.
I'll just say we have one more late participant that is
just coming in as an excellent.
Yep.
As a panelist. Perfect. So let's say hello to Kim Taylor.
Hi, everyone. I'm one of the facilitators for Rochester Lifestyle Medicine. I facilitate the Jumpstart program as well as the CHIP program and the LIFT project. I've been whole food plant-based for a little over 4 years now, and with RLMI for about a little over 2 years. And I just absolutely love doing this and so excited to see all of you here.
Thank you, Kim. And our other facilitator, Bubby Starren, would you like to say hello? And you're
Hey,
muted.
everybody, how are ya? So yes, I'm Bubby Staren. I too am one who walks the walk as well as talks the talk. Whole foods plant-based eater, and eating this way and living this lifestyle has helped me get off of 2 different medications. I feel fantastic, and I love talking about everything to do with lifestyle medicine. And like Kim, I am one of the facilitators. I facilitate some of the Jumpstarts and the CHIP program too, and I hope to answer any questions that you have. We're excited to have you here tonight.
Right, so that was most of our Rochester-based staff, and now we're going to ask to hear from Dr. Kim Scheuer, who's calling in from Colorado, who's a physician. Yep, go ahead. Well, she's a physician who works with plant-based telehealth and also has gone through Jumpstart.
Yep, I am a family practitioner who's also lifestyle medicine boarded. And until I was 47 years old, ate horribly, didn't live the lifestyle I tell my patients to live. I have joined Rochester Lifestyle Medicine Institute for their CHIP program, or for their Jumpstart and the LIFT program, and also have done a CHIP program and facilitate CHIP. And it's changed my life and my patients' lives, and I can see it changing your lives too.
Wow. Thank you for that, Kim. And there's my wife, Carol. Carol is my partner here. Go ahead.
Oh, hi, everyone. Welcome to this Jumpstart info session. I hope we will welcome many of you to the Jumpstart. I just want to say I love everything having to do with plant-based cooking and eating. And so it's my favorite thing to do to share it from both directions with everybody who attends Jumpstart. So looking forward to it.
Thank you, Carol. And everybody else on the screen is pretty much going to be giving testimonial and just saying a little bit, but I'm just going to go ahead and say, have people wave, and then we're going to actually hear from them in depth. So Faith, you're going to be first, but go ahead and, yep. Faith is in Aurora, Illinois. Kathleen Wells is in Pittsford, New York, and not far from Rochester. Rose Harrelson, you're in Illinois, right? Where are you in Illinois?
Belleville, Illinois.
Belleville, Illinois. Great, great. Thank you for joining us. And Byron and Sandy Rubin, they're together on the little screen. So great. Welcome, welcome. And Bob, I'm going to turn it back to you now.
Okay, well, the one thing I wanted to say is I see someone's got their hand raised. We're going to do Q&A after we go through the presentation. If people want, they can either use the chat to put in some questions, and if we can answer them during, an accidental hand. Okay, well, that's fine too. We can answer in the chat, then we'll do that. Or if it's something that, would be better just discussed live, then we'll probably just defer, and people can ask questions to any of us here. So, cooking nuts and bolts about the technology or about people's experience or medical issues, whatever you're curious about, we would like to be able to get to that. But we'll just do that after the presentations, but you can queue them up now. And so I guess I'm going to send it back to you, Dr. Ted, just brief overview of Jumpstart and the history of it and providers working with patients, etc.
So everybody who's been through Jumpstart knows that I'm always eating greens in front of everybody, although I won't do it right now because I'm about to talk. But greens all day long. We get amazing results with people who go through this program. So we started Rochester Lifestyle Medicine back in 2015, and we started doing the Jumpstarts in 2018. So we've been doing it for about 3 years, and over 1,000 people have gone through them with really wonderful results. People's cholesterol generally drops significantly. Our record cholesterol drop is actually 150 points in 2 weeks. On average, it's usually about in the 40s for people whose cholesterol is over 200. And you've probably seen that in some of the materials you've already received. But I just wanted to give you the reason we started it. We just really wanted a program that would allow people to find out quickly whether this is the kind of thing that would work for them and that they would be interested in sticking with. Because obviously 2 weeks is not long enough we want you to do this basically indefinitely, but we want you to find out quickly whether we're telling you the truth, whether it's fake news or whether it's real news. And so we think of this as kind of an on-ramp. You sign up for the program, you commit yourself for 2 weeks because you're a grown-up. You can do anything for 2 weeks, right? Then you find out. And so we've, when we got hit by the pandemic, instead of doing this in our office like we were doing every month, now we do it every month on Zoom. And we're reaching people all over the United States and Canada, and even in other parts of the English-speaking world like Australia and England. So it's just been really, really exciting. And rather than take too much time to explain more about it, I really want to hear from our the people who've been through it and just can give you a little bit of their own personal perspective, which I think that's so important, because I can keep on talking, but I won't. So I think, Bob, unless you object, I think we should go to, what do you think? Time to.
Yeah, well, let's talk about what Jumpstart is.
Oh, so, okay.
Yeah.
So I got to tell people what it is. I guess they don't even know. So
No. I was gonna.
Oh, you're gonna tell it.
Do the presentation.
All right.
Yeah.
You can,
presentation time.
This is the routine, by the way, for those of you who are wondering. Bob and I do this all the time. I just talk, and then he keeps me on the path. So now it's time to go back on the path with Bob here. So go for it.
Yeah. Carol has one more cat that she needs to herd. All right, I'm going to share my screen. And hopefully people are seeing the Jumpstart calendar. And that just went to full screen. Okay, so what is Jumpstart? Well, Jumpstart addresses a lot of things, but basically what we call Jumpstart is the prescription for chronic disease. This what we prescribe or what we follow here really can reverse so many chronic conditions like heart disease, type 2 diabetes, obesity, high blood pressure, address other more difficult to quantify things like pain and energy and mood and sleep. And yet everybody pretty much does it the same way, by eating whole plant foods. And we spend about an hour or so talking about the evidence and the theory behind why that works. But we really concentrate the bulk of what ends up being almost 3 weeks, but the actual Jumpstart itself is 15 days, working through the competence, working through how do you actually change your lifestyle and live this way. And it all begins on the Monday before day one, which is Saturday, where you get an email with a lot of information. It's not a crazy a lot, but it's enough to get you started. And kind of the centerpiece of it is a 2-week calendar that would give you suggestions as to what you might be able to eat for the Jumpstart. Now, they're just suggestions, and people who are competent in being able to use recipe books or go out to the web or make up recipes, they don't have to follow this at all. But for those people that really have never encountered whole food plant-based nutrition, or are not necessarily that confident in the kitchen, because a lot of people these days, they just know how to microwave or stand in line or eat in a restaurant or something like that. So even for those kinds of people, we are here for you. So we send this information out on Monday. And then the Wednesday before is our technical check-in. We want to make sure that everybody has received everything. We want to just, do a read to make sure that everybody has been able to get into our Google Classroom, which is just a wonderful repository for all the information that we're going to provide. And, check our Zoom, make sure that everybody knows how to, raise their hand so that they can get called on and know how to turn off their camera and microphone in case they want to do something private that they don't want the whole rest of the class to see. We mark off the Friday because it's kind of an important day in terms of being able to measure your success during Jumpstart. And what we would ask you to do, and I'm going to turn this one back over to Dr. Ted, is to just talk a bit about what we would ask you to do for yourself before the Jumpstart begins.
Sure. So thank you for that great summary, Bob. Excuse me. So we're here to work with your provider, your physician or nurse practitioner or physician's assistant. And we want you to make sure that they know what you're doing. Of course, you can sign up without telling them if you like, but it's really important, especially if you have a chronic condition, that you let your healthcare provider know, and especially if you're on medication. So it's really nice to get your labs drawn in the week before the Jumpstart, and then we like to have you get your labs drawn right after you're done, while you're still on the diet, on the whole food plant-based diet, so you can see what kind of changes have occurred during the 15 days. And this is a form letter that we've created that Bob is showing you right now, that you can share with your physician and let them know what's going on. And this letter will explain what kind of a program you're embarking on. And there's really great reasons to get your labs drawn just before and right after, is that it's so motivating to see what kind of dramatic results actually do occur. Plus, people are, I think, motivated to stick with the program if they know they're going to be tested as well. So, so we definitely want to work with your doctor. We work with the doctors at Plant-Based Telehealth, where Dr. Kim Scheuer is, and you can certainly work with any other physician that, either through telehealth or in person. Anything else, Bob?
No, that was great. Thanks.
Sure. Sure.
Okay, so now this is all leading up to day one, and the one thing that I just wanted to emphasize or re-emphasize is that if any of this stuff seems like it might be, too complicated in terms of, the technology or anything like that, I and others here are completely dedicated to making sure that by the time we hit day one, that everybody is connected and everybody can basically stop worrying about the technology and start thinking about eating plants. And so when we were here on Saturday at 1:00 Eastern time, okay, as I said earlier, first we just talk about the relationship between food and chronic disease. Why is everybody in the modern industrial world so sick? And no matter how much we eat or how much high-tech medicine we throw at these problems, people just, they don't get better. We can manage symptoms if we're lucky, but people just keep getting successfully worse. So we talk about that, but then we say, okay, if you're convinced, then how do you change? How do you look at yourself and become motivated or autonomous to do these things? And how do you achieve that internally rather than just your physician or loved one twisting your arm? We think about that, we learn about that, and we learn about competence, which is such a big part of this. As I had said earlier, how do you survive and thrive, by cooking your own meals? And then the third component, which is very important, because, I will say that if you've never done anything like this before, it can be challenging. And not only can it be challenging in terms of being able to prepare your own food and take care of yourself, but it can sometimes be even more challenging dealing with others in your life, your family, people at work, just anyone that you encounter. And everybody that's here in this room is well aware of that, and each of us has our own experience and tips that we are here to share. So even if you're the only one in your household that's doing this, you're not alone. We're here, and we're here every day. Once we talk about that, we also just analyze what it was that you've been eating. And I won't go into detail there, but there is a whole spectrum from what we call the standard American diet, or SAD, all the way up to the very low-fat, whole food, plant-based diet that we'll all be embarking on, and what it is to live on this kind of a diet. That's all day one. By that day, you should know what you were going to eat. You should be starting to eat, but you may need some help. And that's where we come in. Our cooking class, sort of the first, on your own day, but not completely, because you got this class in week one. And we have our facilitator for the cooking class, Bubby, here. And would you mind saying a couple of words about the cooking class?
Yes, absolutely. So like Carol, I love everything to do with food. And I often joke that my life revolves around food because I just love it so much. But the cooking class is really awesome, whether you're an experienced cook or new to whole foods, plant-based eating. We show you some of the real basics, and all of the recipes are really simple. They're accessible. There's a lot of familiar tastes so that you won't feel like you're trying something really out there. One recipe flows right into the next, so that it's they kind of build on each other, and it just hopefully will show you how simple you could make this a part of your lifestyle, cooking and eating like this. I love food. That's all.
Yeah. Bubby does a great job with that too. Okay, so then this is the curriculum developed by another one of our associates named Ann Pompa. starting the videos themselves go through all kinds of very handy tips and preparation instructions, and then things that if you're busy day soup, and the building blocks like sauces and dressings and easy to make salads, hummus and dressing, kale chips, baked chickpeas, salsa, etc. And then the individual components that go into making full meals, like this pesto. It's a great pasta with a pesto sauce, and veggies with pasta and rice, and then some dessert. So now we're full into week 1, and we'll have another one of these check-ins because we really want to make sure that you're not alone, and we'll be here for any kind of Q&A. We love to hear about successes, but we are also ready for the challenges. And then we approach our midway point, which is day 8, which is so much fun. It's probably the well, there's a lot of happy days, but certainly as far as the food goes, it's probably the happiest day of the Jumpstart, because everybody and people just take to this naturally. They just send me recipes of a picture of something that they made and a quick description. And these are all recipes that were done and submitted by people who never really thought that they would be eating this way. And there's always such an amazing variety. And it could be as simple as a fruit salad, or as, complicated as like a souffle or something like that. I guess those are pretty complicated. We just have a ball sharing and talking about what went into them and how they taste. And then everybody goes home with this PDF with, certainly like at least 20 or more recipes that they can then try out. So that's just a fantastic day. After that, then, it's kind of just live, get healthier. And then we have another check-in on day 12. And then we are hoping, if people can, and they really want to get a measure of how they've done, and they're willing to share even afterwards, to get their labs done again. And I don't want to spoil any stories, but it is not uncommon at all for people who are on serious medication to be making adjustments on that medication in a direction that they hadn't ever done in the course of that 2 weeks. So on day 15, that's where we really want to stay with you. You can do anything for 2 weeks, and this 2 weeks is a test. It's a test for you, and it's a test about us. There's so much information out there. What is the best diet, all the way from whole food plant-based to paleo and keto and high fat, high protein diets. But what really is the best? Well, the best is what works for you. And after 2 weeks, you will have that answer. Some of the other things that we have, okay, I've outlined these various days, but there's daily emails. So we're here every day. Within the Google Classroom, they have a stream or a forum, which is similar to Facebook, except there's no ads and nobody tracks you. It's all private. It's HIPAA compliant. It's the same system that we're using in the elementary school systems. So the security is very high. And then afterwards, we have a number of different programs for ongoing support. We have our Jumpstart Alumni program, which meets once a month. But for people who really want to stay even more active than that, we have 2 other programs. We have CHIP and we have LIFT. And maybe this would be a good time for Kim to, this would be a good time for Kim to just chat about LIFT for a minute.
I would love to. So yeah, we actually have a LIFT program, a new one starting this Tuesday, which is really exciting. It's going to be from 7:30 to 8:30. It's all about reducing your stress and improving your mood and lifting up your life. It is 10 weeks. We meet once a week for 1 hour, and it's just a really great support system. We have challenges that go along with each lesson, so it makes it really fun. It's about the lifestyle factors. Other than food is one of them, it's one of the lessons, but it also includes things like your sleep and your exercise and things like that, and what goes into living healthier.
It's great. Thanks, Kim. Okay, and now we are getting ready for our participant testimonials. I do apologize. I'm just going to jump the line just because I've got the screen here now. But besides being program director and various other technical plumbing kind of guy, I also am a whole food plant-based 5-year anniversary veteran now, and it's kind of interesting how a lot of these pictures just have me and animal products, except for like next to my, little brother literally there. And, me with my patient wife, and I'm like ironically photoshopped on top of Superman. But this is, kind of more where I am these days. This was a couple of weeks ago down by the lake. And so the one thing that I would say about this, as being someone who was morbidly obese and a yo-yo dieter ever since I was a preteen, is that since I've been on whole food plant-based diet, it's the first time that I haven't lost and then regained everything that I've lost in all of these 5 decades worth of dieting that I've been on. So if you're a person that has just done that suffer success roller coaster horror story, then this is the first time that it will be different, because I'm not dieting anymore and I'm not gaining weight. It's just works. And you learn that it's just so simple, because you're just not eating the oil, and you're not eating the sugar, and you're not eating the processed junk, and you're not eating the chemicals. And all that's left is just all these wonderful whole foods that are filled with all the nutrients that your body really wants. So that's that presentation. And then Dr. Barnett, I'll let you now go on and talk to our guests.
Sure. So I'm going to start with Faith, because I know Faith has another obligation afterwards. So Faith, you want to just tell us a little bit about your experience with Jumpstart and your journey toward health?
Sure. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Barnett.
Welcome.
So for me, I started this because I heard about the Rochester Lifestyle 15-Day Jumpstart because I work as a community nurse. So I'm always looking for programs to take the individuals that I work with and promoting health and wellness with. I want to give them the best medical information. So I heard about this program and I was able to help a group of people get connected. But then in my own life, I really needed to take advantage of this as well, because for me personally, diabetes has ravaged my family, right? And so it's been really bad. So my uncles, I had a cousin that was raised with me. He was more like a brother. And it just goes from bad to worse in my family with diabetes. I'm talking limbs cut off. I'm talking renal failure. So it's not been good. And it just is on both sides of my family, and it's really bad. So although I considered myself, somewhat healthy, every year my fasting blood sugar has elevated. So right before I started the program, I tested in, and my blood sugar now had hit 101. So that was now like in the pre-diabetic range. So thinking to myself, I'm really, trying to be as healthy as possible, but knowing that I really need lifestyle change, and I really need something that's going to work for me. Because I know how this goes. Pre-diabetes turns into diabetes if there's no intervention. and I couldn't really think of anything else to do. So right around this time when this program was starting, I enrolled myself, and I also was establishing a relationship with a new primary physician. So when I took her this program and showed it to her, she was ecstatic. She told me, Faith, this is the only way that you can reverse, diabetes. This is the only way that you can reverse heart disease. This is where what all the data points to. So I was really excited about that, but still pretty skeptical because I kind of have eaten, plant-based. I was, a little bit of a sloppy vegan. And so I really didn't know really how much this could do. So I went for it. So what I could say to anybody that's trying or doing this, I would say, please prepare yourself and stick to it, for 24 hours, because then it breaks through all the mental barriers of, oh my goodness, I can't eat this, I can't eat that. You understand that there's a whole world of foods that you can eat. So it's not like you're not going to be able to eat anything. So that was like a barrier in my mind that was broken. And then the second thing that really helped me along with this was the staff. So this is like the most user-friendly program that I've ever been associated with. It's very well thought through so that you can do this and enjoy it. You're going to enjoy all of the sessions. Just wait and see. Okay. And so what was really great for me is, so then I did this, and for myself, after just 2 weeks, like my physician was just, well, she knew the potential of this, but she was pretty shocked because my blood sugar dropped 13 points. And so it kicked me out of that pre-diabetic range. And so now I'm in a normal range. And then everything else, any other things that were a concern for me, like iron, my iron was a little bit low, everything corrected. So it's like 15 days and I had perfectly beautiful, blood work. And so what I would really encourage anybody that's doing this is please go get your blood work done, because that's going to be definitive for you so that you know how successful you can be and what this is going to do to your life. So now I know that I don't have to get diabetes. So thank you so much, all of you at Rochester. I really appreciate this. This has been a game changer for me, as far as diabetes is concerned. So.
Faith, thank you so much. And I know you brought along some of your some participants as well. In just in maybe 30 seconds, how many?
I know. Okay, I got to share it. I got to share it. Yeah. Sure. So I had this, so I work in an office, and I had this one individual that I really felt bad for her because she's on like a high amount of cholesterol medication, and her cholesterol is still really out of whack, and just has not been able to find anything that really works for her. And I'm like, you've got to do this program with me. So reluctantly, she did it. And the change that went on with I'm just talking about just one individual, and I have several other stories, but with her, because just because I had to kind of like drag her into this, she was just so pleased because her cholesterol dropped 42 points and she lost 10 pounds. So, I mean, it's a complete game changer for anybody that really does the program, but it was great to see that it's not just me. I mean, this is what happens when we eat this way. So I'm very excited.
Great. Thank you so much, Faith.
Sure.
And that's a great segue, actually, because you were talking so much about diabetes. Perhaps we could hear from Rose Harrelson, also from Illinois. But Illinois is a big state, so you probably don't know each other. But anyway, Rose, tell us about your experience and tell us about the conditions that you're trying to alleviate.
Well, I'm diabetic. I've been diabetic for over 30 years. And it has ravaged my family too. In fact, over the last 2 years, I've lost 2 siblings younger than me from diabetes and heart disease. And I have 3 of my remaining 4 siblings that are diabetic. So, and I lost a mother and a father to the disease also. So I have been dabbling and playing with being plant-based for some years now. I'll do it for a little while and then I slowly ease meat back in there. This is the first time I've done it for 2 weeks that totally no meat and being satisfied. So having the cooking classes really helped with that also. I've been experiencing a lot of falling in the last couple of months, to the tune of 3 to 4 times a week. And doing this for 2 weeks, right before our last session, it dawned on me, I hadn't fallen in 2 weeks. Not at all. And also I dropped my medication, my Lantus, 20 units.
Right. So that's your insulin, right?
Yes, that's the one insulin that I dropped 20 units. And then the Novolog that I take with meals is not been as higher doses either. So that's enough to really make me want to remain on it.
That's great.
And not falling really makes me want to remain on it. So,
Rose, I know you just finished up with the most recent Jumpstart. How have you been feeling?
I feel pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
And what's amazing is I was a sugar craver. The cravings are not there.
Right.
That's amazing to me that I'm not craving sugars.
That's great. Well, thank you for sharing your story, and hopefully we can get back to you before we run out of time. But I'm gonna thank you so much, Rose. That's wonderful. How about Kathleen Wells, also from the Rochester area?
Yeah, hi everybody.
Hi.
I did Jumpstart in January of 2019, so I was very lucky pre-pandemic to do it in person with these fine folks. And I also would strongly encourage you to get your blood work done, because that was so eye-opening to me. You know, my story is not really all that dramatic, but my parents and their parents had heart disease and diabetes and really crippling arthritis. And as I watched them go through their end of life, I did wonder to myself, when are these diseases going to hit me? And as I started to get older, my blood pressure and my cholesterol started to creep up, and my weight. So anyway, I entered Jumpstart mainly as a weight loss. I thought I'll give it a try for weight loss. And in that 2 weeks, I did lose some weight, but really it was my cholesterol dropped 54 points, and, you know, just felt great. And my husband didn't do Jumpstart, but he did this eating plan with me. And so anyway, we're almost what 2 3/4 years we've never turned back. And like Rose, the thing that was so like profound to me at first was that the cravings I had for sugar and junk food just were gone. I mean, I would drive to the store on a stressful day and go get my sugar fix and eat it all. And I haven't done that in 2 3/4 years.
Wow.
So, you know, and now after this long, I never imagined this, but we have a garden, and I go out there and look at the kale and I get hungry. I mean, who would have thought, right? It's kind of funny. I'm hungry for kale. It's just great. I think a lot now about the impact on the environment, and I never ever went into this thinking that I would be thinking about animal cruelty, because it just wasn't something that was on my radar, but it's very much now. So it's really just changed my life in a really profound way, and I'm very thankful.
That's really great to hear. So what are the changes that you noticed in the last couple of years in your overall health?
Well, you know, my blood work is great. I never gained the weight back.
How much weight did you lose?
About 20 pounds. I don't write anything down. I don't plan, no calorie counting, nothing like that. You know, I did have asthma, and that's gone. I don't have asthma anymore. I enjoyed jogging through the years, and my knees start to hurt, and they don't hurt anymore. My husband stopped snoring.
That's good. Great.
So
you made me think of something. So, you know, for people out in the audience, we don't advise counting calories or measuring portions. This is all eating ad libitum. You get to eat everything you want, or you get to eat all that you want, as long as it's the right food. And that's kind of what Kathleen was talking about there. She's not counting calories.
47.
And yeah. Well, that's great. And you
Yeah.
mentioned your joints feel good. Yeah, a lot of people talk about how much the better their joints feel.
In fact, I got better at running, which as I get older, I never imagined that would happen. So
Oh, that's great. That's
Yeah.
great. All right. Well, thank you so much for sharing.
thank you.
Yeah. And now Byron and Sandy Rubin, also in the Rochester area out in the countryside. Who's the speaker here? Are both of you?
Well, I'll talk some and you can talk about your
Yeah.
shoulder. When I started the Jumpstart, which was more than 3 years ago now, I was a bit skeptical, I have to admit. But in the 2 weeks that we did the program, I dropped about 11 pounds. But the most profound effect of the program after I continued it was that for the last 20 years, I've been a type 2 insulin dependent diabetic. After about 3 months following the program, I noticed that my insulin intake went to 0 and that my hemoglobin A1c, a measure of how bad your diabetes might be, went to normal levels, about 5.3, 5.4. And even now, 3 years later, my fasting glucose levels without any insulin is between 50 and 60 milligrams per deciliter, which is far away from the pre-diabetic measure. So that's my story. I took off a bunch of weight during the Jumpstart. I've kept most of that weight off, and I'm pretty thankful for it. Thank you.
Oh, great. Thank you for that. And just for people, for people in the audience, I just want everyone to know that Byron was extremely skeptical. He's kind of a hard-nosed scientist, and really had a hard time buying this until he saw it work on himself. So I'm sure I'm abbreviating his all the thoughts he's had, but I just wanted to share that with everybody.
That was quite right.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for that. Sandy.
I had harassed Byron because I was an unhealthy vegan. I was a vegan for animal rights and thought I could eat anything I wanted as long as it didn't involve animals and I would be healthy, no dairy. And so I harassed Byron and we decided we were in the very first program that you all had. And for my birthday, he gave me a promise that he would go to Jumpstart and go for the 2 weeks. So that's how it started, with a birthday present to me. And he never stopped after he started his birthday present. And it's still a birthday present to me because he's much healthier. And then what happened for me, and it could not have been a placebo effect because I had no idea this would happen. But I had one shoulder replaced, a joint replaced. I was going to have the other one replaced. And in between times, I had done the Jumpstart. And all of a sudden, the pain went away in my other arm that I was going to, that joint was going to be replaced. So I go to the doctor and I say, I don't know what's happened. It was pre-op. And I said, it's so strange that I don't have pain anymore. And the only thing I can think of is a change in my diet. And he said, oh, well, yes, that's in the literature. I thought, my goodness, why didn't they tell you that? Also, I improved my eating from the unhealthy vegan to a healthy vegan, and my cholesterol dropped, which is really the reason I had joined, besides getting Byron there, was to reduce my cholesterol, and that reduced. So we are so grateful for this program. It has changed our lives. We can get old together a lot healthier and do more things.
Well, that's wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing that. And just for also people out in the audience, we've had a couple of people mention the word vegan and the ethics of this. We don't really cover that in this program. You're not going to feel any pressure to become a vegan. We're not going to discourage you from that, of course. A lot of people who come to us have been vegan for a long time, not necessarily healthy vegan. And so they get help. So if you're one of those people out in the audience, you can get a lot better. You can just by going through this program, even though you're already plant-based. It's not a guarantee that you're going to be a healthy vegan. And if you're not vegan and it's not something you care about or interested in, don't worry about it. You're not going to be under any pressure to have to talk about that or deal with that. So, but thank you so much, Sandy and Byron. That was really beautiful. And now we're going to go to Dr. Kim Scheuer out in Colorado. And she's going to tell us a little bit more about her story. Thank you so much, Kim.
Hey, thank you. So, as I said, I'm a family physician, and at 47, I was trying to figure out how I could avoid cancer because my mom
That was last year, right?
Yeah, that was 10 years ago.
Oh, okay.
But my mom had cancer at 48, and I was like, how do I do this? And I started doing the research, started looking into it. I had been a Milky Way vegetarian for most of my life. So I was a junk food junkie, loved, and I'd also struggled with weight all my life. And so I started doing plant-based diets and some other lifestyle things. In 1 month, my weight plummeted. I've lost 50 pounds. My cholesterol, which I thought was normal, plummeted. And I found out later that normal in America means you get a heart attack or you get strokes. And so we want you even lower than what's considered, quote, normal. It changed my life. I then started using it on my patients. And after getting more research and getting boarded in lifestyle medicine, I did that. And it's been great. I did the Jumpstart program because I wanted to see what that was to give to my patients. It was fantastic. It was thorough, easy to understand. The information was incredible. The support was excellent. And so I've sent a lot of my patients to the Jumpstart. I have sent and gone further. And then I went on and went to the LIFT program afterwards because I wanted even more from what they have here. And it's been great. So I would highly suggest it. I also suggest getting your labs before and after. It makes a huge difference. And for people who don't have a primary care physician or don't have one that they know about, I now work for plant-based telehealth, and we have licenses in all 50 states. So you could always hook up with us if you wanted to, but stay with your regular doctor if they are supportive. But a lot of doctors, as I didn't know until I was 47, don't know about this and don't know the amazing changes that can happen with this. So
right. That's great. Thank you so much, Dr. Scheuer. I appreciate that endorsement. So if people have any questions and they want to raise their hand or put it into the chat, we'd be happy to answer questions. Or you can communicate directly with Bob, and we might make it so we can hear you. So great. I just wanted to mention about the labs. So we are a semi-academic organization as well. We work very closely with Dr. Susan Friedman, who's a professor of medicine at the University of Rochester School of Medicine and Dentistry. I guess I'm underselling us a little bit. We're actually quite academic, and we've published a number of papers already, and we just had another paper accepted to the Journal of Family Practice. And about the Jumpstart and our efforts to kind of change the whole healthcare system, because really it's kind of amazing that we've known about this for so long. I mean, my wife and I made these changes back in 1991 when we read the work of Dr. Dean Ornish and thought, well, he showed us how to reverse and prevent heart disease just with diet and lifestyle. So why hasn't the system already changed? And we're working on that. But it looks like we've got some interesting questions in here. Karen says her husband is gluten-free. Will this be difficult for us to find recipes? Bubby or Carol, you want to answer that? Maybe.
Absolutely not, right, Bobby?
Absolutely right.
Yeah.
There's so many grains that are
Yeah.
gluten-free, and even things like brown rice pasta, and even you could even avoid most grains if you wanted to, and have plenty of legumes and veggies on this diet. So perfect.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I concur.
Yeah. I know that, there's a lot of people out there who do this who are gluten-free. A couple of questions here about labs and how important is it to get it done just before you start? Obviously, it's not critical. I mean, it's really important to have your labs drawn afterwards when you're on the program, but it is nice. And there's always a question about whether your insurance will cover getting your labs drawn frequently. I'm really of the opinion, and I think we all kind of share this, that it's really important to get your labs drawn fairly regularly when you're doing this kind of a program. It turns out your cholesterol can change very quickly. People with diabetes check their blood sugar with a finger stick twice a day. So why shouldn't you check your cholesterol once a month? Because it really can change dramatically in just a week or two. And you'd like to know if you're making any changes, is it influencing your cholesterol? So, if you've got a baseline that's within the last month or so, that's fine. If it's more than a few months old, I think it would be nice to get a newer set of labs, but it's obviously not critical. What's really critical is to have it done right afterwards when you're on the program. And then we kind of like it because it helps when we're trying to publish our data, that we can say, so that's, that's so we can spread the word. But believe me, none of us are getting rich off of this. So any promotion you hear is really just so we can help get the word out. So that's about labs. Yeah, what else? Someone says, thank you so much for sharing your stories. I look forward to doing the program as reporting success as well. That's Sharissa Bass. Thank you, Sharissa. Lori B has 2 questions. I had a physical in August. Are my labs from that visit going to work for the pre-program numbers? I think August is pretty good if you're starting in October. Either way, how do I get labs? Just ask my doctor for an order for both or the second set. Excuse me. So the labs we want you to get are lipid profile, so cholesterol, triglycerides, and then also a fasting blood sugar. If you do have diabetes, it's useful to have a fairly recent hemoglobin A1c, which, as Bob was saying, or who was saying it? I forget. It's basically a measure of your. Byron was saying that. It's a measure of how well your blood sugar has been under control for the last few months. So the hemoglobin A1c is useful. If you're interested too, you might, if you have heart disease, you might want to get some other tests such as C-reactive protein. I don't know, Dr. Scheuer, are there any other tests you like to see?
So I definitely like, obviously the sugar and the cholesterol, as you mentioned. It depends on if you're on medications for other things. I'd like your kidney function sometimes, I do like to talk to the people individually to see what is more individual for them and what they need.
Yeah, that's why we encourage you to see your provider, but just before you start or sometime before you start. And as far as getting the labs ordered, well, if you get in touch with Plant-Based Telehealth, they'll get the labs ordered for you, and at a fairly reasonable price. And then Bob Frankie has just put in the chat his email if you want to reach out to him. So Lydia says she's a flight attendant who packs food to go for trips 3 to 4 days long. Will I be able to meal prep for several days? Who wants to answer that one on the staff? Bobby, go for it.
Yes, I was just typing, but it's faster to talk. Yes, I don't see why you couldn't. In our household, we have 2 humans that eat this way. And we do actually probably 80% of our cooking on Sunday. We make breakfasts for each of us and dinners for the both of us, or I'm sorry, lunches for each of us and dinners for the both of us on Sundays. We make usually like 2 or 3 different meals and just kind of pull out what is on our schedule for that day. So yes, absolutely. Meal prep is super easy this way because there are so many basics in this way of eating that you can kind of mix and match whatever suits your fancy for that time. So yes, I love meal prepping. You don't have to meal prep on this program, but my gosh, once you start doing it, you're going to love to do it.
That's a great answer. Thank you. Looks like this has been answered in the chat, but I'll mention it anyway. Judith says, sorry, I joined late because of a work meeting running late. Are Tofu, Seitan, and Tempe part of Jumpstart? And so my wife responded, Tempe is part of Jumpstart. So Tempe, we're basically advocating whole foods, and Tempe is a whole food. It's the whole soybean. It's just a little fermented. Tofu and Seitan are more processed, especially Seitan. So we want you to avoid those during the Jumpstart. And tofu is allowed after Jumpstart, but it kind of depends on your goals. We really want you to try strictly staying on the Jumpstart program for these 2 weeks to see how you do, and don't make any changes until you get your labs drawn. This program, by the way, is based on a diet that was developed by Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn, It's a very low fat, whole food, plant-based diet. So not in addition to just being whole foods, we also want you to avoid any high fat plant foods such as nuts, seeds, and avocados and coconuts. Afterwards, you may be able to add some of those things back in, especially some healthy nuts like walnuts. But generally, we want you to stay away from those things, certainly during the Jumpstart. Tofu is a little bit processed and is pretty high in fat and doesn't have, it's had the fiber pretty much all removed. So we want you to avoid that. And seitan, well, that's for all the gluten that's not eaten by the people who are gluten-free. They get to have all the seitan because seitan is basically pure gluten. So, but again, that's pretty processed. It's had a lot of the rest of the wheat has been removed. So let's see. Thank you for that. Somebody, Trisha says, I love the Milky Way vegan comment Dr. Scheuer made. That is 100% me. Okay, well, we're here for you, Milky Way vegans. So Rachel Studley says, before breast cancer, I was paleo-ish, high fat and low carb. This seems high carb. Can you explain a little why the low fat, higher carb is healthier? Interesting question. So empirically, we know it seems to work. So I'm all about empirics, meaning, how does it work in practice? It's nice to have a theory, and we do have theories about why this works. And there's all kinds of theories about how food works. And the problem is it's so complicated, nobody really understands all the ins and outs. Because think about it, when you eat food, you're taking in thousands of different compounds. And when those get into your system, they're interacting with hundreds and hundreds of different enzymes. But before they get into your system, they have to go through your gut and interact with thousands of different microorganisms that are all dealing with in their own way and also producing chemicals that also interact with your body. So making any kind of prediction about how things are going to work based on what we know about the body, it's pretty complicated. So what we talk about really are what we call eating patterns. So an eating pattern is, okay, what about the healthiest people on the planet? How have they been eating all their lives? And it turns out that pretty much they're on whole food plant-based diets. So there are these places called blue zones, and a typical blue zone is Okinawa, Japan, where they get at least 80% of their calories from whole plants. And that's pretty typical of the places on the planet where people live a long time. And those are going to be low fat, not low protein, but sort of normal protein diets. And you're right, pretty high in carbs, carbohydrates, but there's carbs and there's carbs. So white sugar is a carbohydrate. A sweet potato is also a carbohydrate. How is it they end up in the same category? Well, because they get their calories from starch, but clearly one food is much different from another in terms of how your body is going to be able to process that. So when you eat a sweet potato or a squash, your blood sugar is not going to spike. That's going to get into your system and it's going to get absorbed slowly all day long. So your blood sugar is going to come up just a little bit maybe, and your pancreas may have to produce just a little bit of insulin to keep your blood sugar normal. But if you eat a teaspoon of sugar or a tablespoon of sugar or a can of soda, your blood sugar just spikes. And both of those are carbs, but clearly very different kind of carbs. So you'll learn more about that when you do the Jumpstart. Somebody says my primary care physician in Michigan recommended the program. Do I register through him or on your site directly? Absolutely on our site. So you come to rochesterlifestylemedicine.org and register, find the event you want to sign up for and just register right there, please.
I did put the link to the next Jumpstart up there.
Yep, looks like Bob answered that already. And there are 10 new messages that I didn't see. Okay. Someone says, if I'm taking probiotics, can I continue? Yep, not a problem. Probiotics are fine. If they, we'll talk about them actually, because they're probably oversold, but that's okay. Mary Elgin says, so every time I see my cardiologist, he insists I go on a cholesterol medication. I refuse every time. I have too much generalized body pain without. He says, no matter what type of food change I make, it will not help like meds would. I believe that's hogwash. Can't wait to prove him wrong. Okay, so that's not really a question, that's a statement. And I don't totally appreciate that statement. It's really fun if you can take your labs to your cardiologist. But like I said, we had one woman come in with a total cholesterol of 299 on day 1, and on day 15 it was 149. It dropped 150 points. Most people aren't going to get results like that, but you're typically, your cholesterol, if it's over 200, will drop 44 points, somewhere around that. And yeah, so that's great. Let's see here. So Bob is suggesting I talk about intracellular lipids, so muscle fat and insulin resistance. Okay, so yeah, why do people get type 2 diabetes? It has to do with something called insulin resistance, and basically your body's not able to process sugar the way it should normally, and we think it's because of the intracellular fat. In other words, fat that's got inside the muscle cells. That's the theory. And remember I told you about being empirical? So we not only does it work in theory, but it also works in fact. We know that people who have diabetes will get better when they do this. We think we know the reason, or at least one of the reasons. So that's good. Somebody can get their PhD working on that one. So that's great. We are hit at 7:30. And I don't know, does anybody, any of our panelists want to say anything? I'd love to hear from Rose Harrelson again, because you've been so inspiring to us. And we're just so excited for you being on the program, because you've had diabetes for 30 years and you're already cutting back on your insulin. So tell us what your thoughts are on what you've just heard. I don't mean to put you on the spot like that.
Well, that's okay. I'm anxious about it. I'm anxious to see where it will take me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm committed to it. I'm committed. This is the first time I've been so committed and not craving. So that in itself is a big win for me, to not crave the sugar. That's been my downfall. I could write books probably on how many times I've tried different programs, and the sugar is what pulls me off, the craving for the sugar. I did not have that this time.
Really?
I did not have it.
Well, that's wonderful to hear. So yeah, thanks for sharing that again. Any of the other panelists want to share something? Kathleen or?
Yeah, I just want to encourage everybody, give it a try. 2 weeks. You can do anything for 2 weeks, like they say. And it did seem to me to be a little bit of, well, a lot of work at first, but that quickly goes away and it just becomes routine. So, and the food is just really good. Like, I just didn't know. I mean, I just feel like I was missing. The standard American diet seems so constrained to me now.
Yeah.
And
great.
People think I eat a limiting diet, and I think you have no idea how limited your diet is. So anyway,
All right.
wish you all well.
Oh, thank you.
I wanted to say that I eat all kinds of carbohydrates, some sugar. It really has almost no impact on my hemoglobin A1c or my fasting glucose levels. It's because the insulin is more effective now than it used to be. So the resistance is gone.
Insulin.
Pardon?
Your own body's
His own insulin.
Yeah, so my body's making enough insulin to take care of me.
Right.
And I don't have any supplemental. I haven't had any insulin for 3 years. But I was insulin dependent for 20 years. So it's made a huge change, but you can still enjoy pretty much all the things that you would like to enjoy. The key for me is to go to the internet, put in something I really like to make, put the word vegan in front of it, and invariably I find a recipe.
And oil-free, just leave it out.
Yeah,
we leave the oil out.
Yeah.
When you want to fry or cook, use water. It works great.
Sure. Thanks for sharing that. Yeah, you reminded me what a lot of people can't believe is that we don't recommend that we recommend that you don't use any oil for anything, including cooking. And it's, what about olive oil? What about canola oil? All these healthy oils. And you get over it, and people who've been stuck in the same place for decades say, wow, it's actually working now. So great. Yeah. Thanks. Dr. Scheuer, any other last words?
As a person who didn't eat a salad till I was 47, I thought there was no way I could do this. And I love what I eat. People say, oh, I feel so bad for you. I'm like, no, you don't understand. I love what I eat. I eat all the time. I eat a lot of food. I feel better at almost 60 than I did in my 20s. And that's what I want for you guys.
Oh, thanks. That's so sweet. Yeah. Great. So Bob Frankie, where are we?
It went pretty fast, I think. but a lot got said. I want to thank everyone in our panel for joining us and for your kind and encouraging and inspirational words. And I'd like to also thank everyone out in our audience for spending an hour of your valuable time with us. If anyone has any questions, I'll also be sending just a follow-up thank you email to everybody. And, you know, just echo that this whole don't worry about the oil or don't worry about the food, and it is only for a day. And if you've been struggling with anything that you would like to see improve, and you haven't tried this before, or maybe even if you have, but it didn't quite go the way you thought it was going to go, come and join us. And you know, we actually try to have some fun while we're at it, you know.
Believe it or not.
Yeah. You know, at the very least, you'll see the Ted and Bob show as we, you know, bang our heads back and forth and try to keep this train on the tracks. And yeah, you know, we're open to all kinds of input from everybody, you know. People who are kind of shy, if they would like to, you know, stay off the camera and more or less just observe, that's fine. But, you know, if you are someone that just wants to join in and participate, we want to hear from you. So I guess that's about it. I don't know if you want to, well, actually, we can't do I don't think we can do the whole onward thing. So we'll do that amongst the panelists maybe and give them a taste.
All right, so before we do that, I just want to say thanks to Kim and Bubby, who are our faithful facilitators. And if you guys sign up, you'll get to meet them a lot and see them a lot. You'll also see my wife, Carol, who's got cats floating around most of the time. And so, yeah. And what Bob was referring to is when we sign on at the beginning of every meeting, we all unmute and say hello. And at the end, we all unmute and we say onward. So let's, all the panelists here, let's all unmute, and we're gonna, on the count of three, Carol, you're still muted. On the count of three, we're all gonna say onward. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Onward! All right. Thank you all so much.
All right.
Yeah.
Have a great evening.
Thank you.
Thanks all.
Thank you.
All right.